Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Maniac, episode 3. It's called Having a Day. So, full spoilers for the episode, as always. So, it's funny because I was talking about last time how they might go back and show Owen's side of like when the machine turned on and they took the pill, which immediately they said no, he didn't take the pill, which we could never have predicted. So fair enough, we can't. But then it kind of did it anyway when he like made up the story of what he thought was the worst day of his life was.
Yeah, but it's not the same. Doesn't it's not? It didn't because then he did take the pill and it didn't show us.
It didn't. No, it didn't show us. But he did tell us what it was afterwards. Though we hear about what the actual worst day was. The day he tells us about, or the day he tells Doctor about, is we see this flashback is when the engagement was announced and his brother's there and he's singing Sting songs at his fiancée, who by the way they've just got engaged and she looks utterly uncomfortable with everything that's going on and he's doing this cheesy fake smile and singing,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
whatever, and poor Owen can't take it. He goes up to the roof. He decides to jump, but he jumps off the wrong side, and instead of going down to the ground from the roof, he lands on the skylight, which is maybe one floor down.
Yeah, painful. Big smack in the face.
But not death,
Not even close.
not even close. There's just
Just
this loud
humiliating.
loud thud, and everyone looks up, and they all see him just squished up against the glass.
I think the mother's screaming had me laughing.
What did she scream? Can't remember.
She just screams his name over and over, I think.
Owen,
But
Owen, my
yeah,
baby.
yeah, but it was just comical.
Uh, so this one didn't focus on either Owen or Annie as because obviously the first one was definitely Owen's episode, the second one was definitely Annie's episode. This one it started off with them, and there was definitely some more of Owen when he was being questioned because both him and Annie, along with the condom dude, which is what his name is right
Number
now,
5.
number 5. There you go, we call him number 5. They're getting interviewed separately from Doctor Muramoto because they've each had something pop up. Now for her it's because their tests indicate that she's already used to the drug. She's already been taking it, which is weird. No one should have had contact with it before now. And he's like, oh, right, you want to relive your trauma over and over, and that's one of the main points we get from her is that she actually likes doing this because as awful as it ends, it's the one way she gets to sort of spend time with her sister again. I'm like, oh, okay, that's really sort of sad and kind of deep, and I'm like, okay, I'm into that as an idea. It's a good character beat. And then, of course, Owen's brought in because he didn't take the drug, and they can kind of tell that they don't even think he went to sleep. He's like, no, you were awake the entire time. Shut up. Take the thing. Take the drug. And it's when Annie's in that he just drops dead. Just randomly. Just kills over. Turns out later on he's been using some of the drugs himself recreationally, and that's probably what's led to his death. But probably the biggest laugh I had this episode is she thinks it's a test and she sits there just sort of talking to herself for about a minute and then there's a pause and she goes, oh, you're really dead? Oh shit. It was the way she said that cracked me up. And she brings in Owen and she doctors the papers so that they both get advanced to the next level even though they shouldn't be. They should both be kicked out on the spot for different reasons.
Which is not surprising. I mean, she's always shown she's willing to do anything to keep going.
Oh sure, yeah, she's excited about the B drug, of course, but she does notably not take the A's, the full tub of A's, which she gets access to after he dies. She's going to take them, and she actually decides not to.
Yeah. Maybe she's smart enough to know. Hey, keep doing this. You get a continued source.
Well, no, I don't think it's that. I mean, I think you're being overly cynical here. I think there's a moment here where it's based on what he said to her before he died. Is that this place is about improving and possibly getting over the thing that's making you pain. And I think her refusal to take the A's that she could have stole there was more about, if I continue with this and go to B then C, I might actually find some closure about my pain.
Sure.
So
that's fair.
So I think it was a character moment for her, as opposed to just conniving into more drugs.
Yeah, but I'm cynical. What do you want me to say?
Yeah, apparently you are.
I see the worst.
But that's the death. And they both know he's dead, but they don't tell anyone. They just kind of leave as if nothing ever happened. Eventually, of course, the other doctors find him. And this is where we get the episode kind of pivots, and we get this extended introduction to Justin Theroux's character, Dr. Mantle Ray. So she basically she goes and speaks to the head honcho who's running the company, and it's on a CRT, and it's just this weird visual effect. It's almost like if you ever had a PS1, you had the visualizers when you were playing a CD on it.
Yeah.
It was like one of those with like spikes coming out the sides.
Yeah, it was very much one of those sine waves visualizers.
Yeah, but fancy, because that was you remember that was a thing when like Windows Media Player came with like 100 of those because people liked having them on when their music was playing.
Yeah, iTunes did it as well, I think.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen one of those. I guess it's just something that phased out.
People realised that no one gave a shit. Just put the music on.
I bet Winamp still got them, if Winamp still exists.
I don't know if it does. If it has, I haven't used it in like a decade.
I'm going to download Winamp later just to see if it's still around. How's Winamp doing? So, so I bet you can download them for VLC. I bet you can just like download packs of them if you really want them.
I bet you can, but
yeah. Anyway,
why?
But she's talking to it. It's just this sort of robotic voice, and it's kind of like I was getting Lost vibes from this. I was getting vibes of anything where there's like a mysterious overlord and it's through a computery voice changer. And but she's like, no, we need to bring him in. We need to bring this Mantle Ray in to run things. And she goes and gets him. And our introduction to Mantle Ray, he's in a VR video game that is a sex game. Now, of course, the big punchline to this is when we actually see what he's doing in the real world. But we see inside the video game. And it's this really weird level, because obviously a lot of this has been this retro future, where it's the future, but there's, old technology, old screens, old buttons, all that kind of thing. The graphics here in this video game were really weird to me, because you think if it was going to be older, crappier graphics, you could just compare it to a previous like generation of games, right? And just say, oh, there's the PS2 graphics, that's what they look like, or PS1 graphics. But the truth is it's this weird murky thing in the middle, where the graphics are actually really good, but then pixelated over the top.
Yeah.
Right?
Because like his features are incredibly recognizable.
Well, he's not pixel. He's not graphics at all.
No. But in general, just like you have that there, and then
I'm talking about the actual video game graphics,
right, okay.
The rest of the screen. You can tell that they're actually much higher fidelity. They're just like sort of blocky over the top of it. Otherwise, just say they've put a filter on actual proper graphics, but it kind of has that effect where it doesn't really look like old graphics. But I guess that kind of ties into that it's kind of old, but it's kind of a new version of old. It's kind of weird. But at the same time, he's in VR, which of course is a very recent thing. It's a very new thing. But
proper VR, yeah.
When she comes into the room and he's wearing this sex machine, what would you call it? Like a dick holder that does the motions when you're in the VR having sex with your alien princess beast.
Simulatory. What's the right word for the VR version?
Of a fleshlight? Is that where you're going with this?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
I don't know. I feel like it's doing a lot more than a fleshlight, so it should probably have its own fancy name.
It should, but I mean, someone else will come up with it. Someone else probably already has. Let's be honest.
My favourite part is that he knocks over the lamp or whatever it is when he stands up.
It's when he turns and it's just there. Yeah.
Yeah, but she's like, no, he died. We need you. And you can tell this is like a big thing for him, that he's still working and stuff, but he's clearly someone who's been away from this for a while, and he doesn't want to be away from it. He's glad to be back. Yeah,
she has a lot of respect for him. He mentions that, you want me to come and work for him again, like he was there before and got kicked out, or whatever happened.
Yeah. No idea what, but. He comes back and he mentions Gertie as well. I actually forgot to mention that last episode. Is even before they started calling the computer Gertie, when I saw the acronym, which is like GTRY, I actually read that in my head as Gertie. Yeah,
you're just so used to these, aren't you?
Yeah, I just read it as Gertie, but then so when they started calling her Gertie, I was like, oh yeah, I already thought that. That's funny how this. But I just assumed that it would be said as a person's name rather than. And sure enough, he even says, "Does Gertie know I'm back yet?" And he goes in and says hello. And then Gertie, when he says, "You're not going to make a face for me," I was like, "What, does she make like a face out of the lights on the board?" And sure enough, later on, we see the face form when everyone's asleep, and it actually, there's like a tear that comes again. It's in the light bulbs. There's like a sort of tear that falls from the eye, but then that actually manifests to an actual drop of water in the circuits, which
Not water, solder.
solder, sure, yeah.
I think that's important.
But it hits the two of the transistors, right? It hits two of the things, and I don't know for sure. I mean, they both said 1 on it.
No, it was 1 and 9.
Was it 1 and 9? Okay, well in
Yeah.
that case, it's exactly what I thought it was then, and
Yeah.
that it's linked those two together in a way that they're not supposed to be linked inside their virtual reality dream world.
I saw this and went, that's why they're linked in we know that was the premise from the trailer.
Yeah.
I was like,
But there's a
okay,
reason
it's
for
not
it.
just
Yeah.
we were assuming it was like, oh no, it's the pair of them linked for what,
True love. They always find each other because of true love.
Yeah, some sort of other reason. But no, it's just some crossed wires, literally.
Yeah, because the computer cried. See, it sounds simple until you add that part on. Yeah. But it's worth mentioning though, she does actually fess up that she lied about because we were speculating at the end of episode 1, like there wasn't any truth to what she was saying, or was he just hearing this? It turns out he did hear that. She did say those exact words, but she knew his name from the intercom, from hearing his name being called out, which is actually perfectly believable.
Makes me want to go back and watch it and see if I can catch it in the back, because I didn't hear it in the background.
Oh sure,
at the time.
But
I believe that it was said.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. All their names were said at some point. But do you know what I love about it though? Is that I love that his response to her when she says, "No, I just said what I thought you need to hear because I thought you were going to like cause problems." I love that he thought what we did. He says, "But you knew my name," because that's exactly the thought we had, and that was exactly the question I had in my head when she said, "No, I just made it up."
Yeah.
So credit to him. He was on the same wavelength as us, and I think that's really smart. It's a smart piece of writing. But what I also liked is that when she finds out about him, and especially when he tells her what his actual worst memory is, when he actually went through the pill in the machine, and he describes it as the first time he ever saw the fake brother, and it's when he talked him out of like trusting this girl, his first big crush, and he thought his parents had set her up and paid her to come be friendly to him, and started screaming at her, and it's actually like a really sad like element to this, that the worst day of his life was the first time he ever had one of these incidents. Having a day, as the title of the episode puts it, and it's this really sad thing. But I think what I really like about it is that Annie immediately says, "I would never have like lied to you the way I did had I known that you have that type of thing. Had I known you went through that, where things are real or not."
She didn't realize she was feeding into a pre-existing problem.
Yeah, and it felt genuine. Not a single whiff of it felt like she was just saying that because it was the right thing to say or anything like that. It felt like a genuine statement, and it's like, okay, all right, you're. I'm getting a sweet sense of both these characters now, where for all their faults, they both have this. Because he even says back, it's not your fault. Like
Yeah, she wasn't to know.
Yeah, so there's actually a really sweet bond kind of forming, and whether that turns out to be a love thing or not is up in the air for the rest of the story. But
she'll wait and see how it develops. Yeah.
But at least right now, there is kind of a bond forming and also because there are sort of like thick as thieves when it comes to the guy dying and being in his office, there is kind of like a as soon as they mention, the doctor had to go and leave his family emergency.
Yeah. They look at each other and go, "That's not what happened."
Yeah, they just look at each other. So they've got a secret together, they've got a bond. And that's something that'll be a big deal, I think. So Thoreau's very happy. Also, I love how the scientists have even smaller pods to sleep in than the.
Theirs are almost like little coffins.
Yeah, than the test. Because actually, when we saw inside the pods this episode, I still think it's ridiculous to change in there, but they look quite cozy for sleeping in, though.
Yeah, they look roomy enough to have a little kip.
Yeah, they do.
I could be quite happy in one of those.
But the scientists are literally in like drawers. They just come out the wall and they just slot themselves in.
It's like a morgue.
Yeah. Well, from the side though.
They come out sideways instead of long ways. But
I'm thinking. I mean, I don't have this for my cats, but it's just like people who have like a little cat bed in a drawer and they just pull out the drawer.
Okay. Yeah.
So that. but for humans. But so sure enough, at the end of the episode, they take Test B, and they go into the machine, and of course I'm like, oh, we're going to cut to the credits before we see where they're going. Is that how we're going to end this as a tease? But no, sure enough, we do actually get a glimpse of what the world they went to is, and it's the 80s. Jonah Hill's got a mullet because of course he does.
Yep.
And I didn't think he was going to be with Emma Stone already. I thought they were going to find each other like later, but
Yeah, I thought so too.
but no, sure
here
enough,
they are.
he wakes up and Emma Stone's the wife in this scenario, and she's in the other room saying, oh, "Honey, you fell asleep again in front of the TV. Come in here." And he comes in, and the loving, if not quirky, 80s marriage. And this is where we leave off for next time. I never like, I don't typically read the descriptions of the episodes, and I didn't read the next episode description because I would never do that. I don't do that typically. Sometimes by
Unless you
accident.
accidentally do it. Yeah.
Yeah, but the description for the episode popped up, and I just happened to notice that whatever the plot is in this world, it involves a caper of some kind. So we're going to have mullet Jonah Hill and Emma Stone with the curly hair doing a caper as this weird married couple. Yeah, I'm okay with this. This is
It sounds like a blast of an episode.
Yes, I'm curious to see how this plays out. And are we going to be cutting back to the scientists and having them being like, wait, why are these two in the same world? Why are they linked to each other? What's going on? Is that going to be a thing from the start, or is it something
they notice later?
Yeah, do we see them at all until they come back out? Like, do we spend the entire episode inside and then come back out at the end and only see them then, or whatever?
Yeah, I can see either way working. It just depends on which style it wants to go for.
I could do a bit of both. I could see it maybe not cutting between just now, but then when we do it again and the mystique's kind of worn off a little bit.
I think you could do it for the first time. Like, okay, no, this is fresh, and stick with that. And then once we're used to it, that's when you jump around a bit more.
Yeah. But yeah, so the episode introduced a lot of new elements. Introduced obviously Justin Theroux's character, and it introduced a bit more of Gertie, more of a personality for Gertie, and questions certainly as to how it functions, as well as the leader of the company. So there's a bit more world building. But I think the core thing for me was Emma Stone's reason, Annie's reason for wanting to keep taking the pills and wanting to relive that over and over again, and then her reaction to Owen's backstory. That's where the real heart of this episode, I think, came out for me. And it made me like both characters a lot more, because I didn't dislike them before, but I feel like now,
No, that's fair. I've been a little bit more or her specifically, a bit more sympathetic.
Yeah, and I think it's because the way they set her up, and given the tone of the show from the trailers and stuff, I was kind of half expecting this to be the type of show where, these could all be awful characters the entire time. That could be one of those shows. The trailer never sold me on. It sold me on the quirkiness. It sold me on the weird, and the way we're going to play with different ideas and have these different scenarios and locations and costumes and all this stuff. But it didn't sell me on the heart. And the heart's the stuff that it's grown naturally over the 3 episodes, kind of more so in this one.
Yeah, in theory, it should be very strong by the end.
Yeah,
that stuff, as long as it keeps its track.
But I'm caring about the characters, which is nice, because I think Cary Fukunaga, who directed all this, of course directed season 1 of True Detective, which is a really well directed show. But I don't think I ever really cared about the characters in that show. It was a very cold show.
It was. I guess it just wasn't in the script.
Yeah, no, that's fair. So it's not so much that you could even expect it from him. But, he took this job, he took that job as well. Now, admittedly, how much clout he had before when he took the job at True Detective Season 1 is debatable, but...
Yeah, that's arguably what made him, his name, who he is, so...
But the point I'm making is that if he chose that stuff, maybe he chooses something else that has similar faults because he doesn't recognise them. The example I always bring up is Ridley Scott. Half of his films are garbage, not because he's a bad director. If you hand that man a good script, you'll get a fantastic movie because they always look good. They always look stunning, but the man cannot, pick a
he
gem
needs someone to pick his scripts for him.
Yeah,
really.
pretty much. Often the simpler the better. But yeah, so. I guess my preconceived notion coming at this is okay, what does Cary Fukunaga do with a completely different idea? And I think what's interesting about this is that, okay, it's a science fiction show, it's just doing all this quirky stuff, but it is just how delightfully quirky it is. With the Doctor randomly dying, with the computer making the emotions in the light board, and all these little
Yeah.
things. It feels very playful in its quirkiness, and that is such the opposite to what True Detective was, which was the serious, gritty. People are dying. Here's some like satanic looking shots of like empty beer cans.
Yeah, but at the same time, the flawless direction from True Detective, I'm still seeing here.
Oh yeah, it's very confident.
Yeah,
very confident.
Fun little thing I noticed. Last episode we were discussing the world that she was in for Pill A. Like, was that like just a straight up memory, or was it like this other version? And one of the other characters said it didn't feel like how she remembered it. It felt a bit different, more like a dream. And I'm wondering, is that just over time her memories got distorted, and that is the real version that we saw, and she's just kind of forgotten that's what it was like.
Yeah, and I have to wonder, since Annie's been taking these pills consistently for a while, I wonder if she doesn't have that dreamlike quality anymore because she's just done it. Like, it's that type of thing.
Yeah.
The first time you hear a song you like, you don't know the structure of it, you don't know what all the different parts. It sounds almost like it's much longer than it is. Not in a bad way, but once you've heard it, like, say, 10 times, and you know the structure, it feels much quicker. It feels like you see the mechanical parts moving, if you will, and you deconstruct it a little bit, and it feels less, the magic's not quite there in the same way. And that's not to say that you enjoy it less. If anything, you might even enjoy it more because you understand the artistry that's going on. But there's definitely a different quality to it from the first time you hear the song and then the 20th time you hear it.
Yeah, exactly. Is she numb to it, like now, like you say, or is it a case of she had never really noticed that it was different? She just thought, she was caught up in it, and didn't really notice that things were out of place, perhaps.
Maybe the dream qualities of it actually are what make it more bearable. Maybe they soften the blow of certain elements.
The bit that stuck out to me is when she was telling Owen about what happened that day.
The driver, yeah, I noticed this.
The driver, she really blames it on the truck driver, and it's like, no, he was out of it, and I'm like, but in what we saw, they were on the wrong side of the road, right?
Yeah, they were. They were driving head on into him. Now, admittedly, now that she said that, I almost want to go back and watch and actually make sure it's them that's on the wrong side and not him. Because if it's him that's on the wrong side, then our story tracks. Let's assume that she wasn't the wrong and it's more her fault. You could read it as the pill lets her see the truth, but she's not willing to admit it, and she thinks that's a mistake. Or she knows she's lying.
Yeah,
and she wants someone to blame.
But I thought that was an interesting touch, because that's not how it felt when we saw it.
Yeah, because when when we saw it last time, the truck driver wasn't really a big part of it. He slowed down, he ran out to see if anyone was hurt. Like, he cared, and that's all we really see of him. So that never implied that he was in the wrong in any way. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it wasn't.
No, it doesn't. But like I say, it was them that was, taking the picture and not really paying any attention to what was happening on the road. It felt like they were in the wrong.
Yeah.
But that's not what she says. So I thought it was just interesting to note.
Yeah. Is that because the memory is unreliable? Is that because she is lying? Or some other reason that we can't we can't deduce yet? Yeah. No, it's interesting. Which is interesting. I almost wonder if the scene that Owen talks about when he was a kid, I do wonder if we'll see that down the line when it's more relevant, and we'll maybe see something that's not quite the same as what he said as well. Like, maybe he's
maybe a slightly different version.
Yeah, like he says he saw his fake brother and he convinced him, and she was the girl was a plant, don't trust her. I wonder if it's if when we really see that, maybe there was no fake brother. Maybe that was something he invented afterwards to try and deflect blame. Maybe, like, he just became paranoid himself or something. I don't know. I mean, technically he is, because the fake brother's in his head. But you know what I mean? Like,
No, I'm with you.
I wonder if there's more of a direct blame in him for what happened.
In the same way that it is for her.
Yeah. Or, maybe it'll be in a completely different direction. Maybe she was a plant, he was right, but they spent so much convincing him he isn't that it's changed his outlook. But hey, that's episode 3.
It is funny, just on that, maybe she was a plant. everything we saw of the family and the parents, completely plausible.
Yeah, they feel like people who would buy a kid off to hang out with their son. Yep,
Yeah.
I'll buy it. I'll buy that for $1. But yeah, a lot of chew on. A lot of chew on in this show. I'm looking forward to seeing the suburban 80s adventures of Mullet and Perm. Perm head.
Do it.
Yes, I'm so glad the Perm died out, you know that.
And the mullet too. Let's not overlook the mullet.
Yeah, but I don't need to be attracted to men, so it's fine. Like, but
Yeah, but the mullet is more offensive to the eyes.
it depends. So some people can carry the mullet.
No, they can't.
No, Superman could carry the mullet. It looked great on Superman, and two, Mel Gibson in the Lethal Weapon movies, he suited that damn mullet, right? He suited it.
Mullet was a tragedy. It's a crime against old fashion.
I love how someone sitting here with ginger hair is trying to tell us that other hair is a crime, right?
Yeah. That's how bad the mullet is.
That is us though. That is episode 3 of Maniac. Let us know what you thought of this in the comments below. Like and subscribe, all the usual stuff. We'll be back with episode 4 in a couple of days' time, if all goes to plan. So look forward to that. If you want to support the channel and the show and everything we do here, head over to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. You can get some bonuses over there. You can feel warm and fuzzy on the inside for supporting us and keeping us going and keeping the reviews coming. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?